Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another amazing webinar. My name is Nancy Mansour, Executive Director, Eyewitness Palestine. And today we are doing our Khalil virtual delegation with our wonderful Maureen Kaki, who's with Eyewitness Palestine, our Programming and Operations Coordinator. And we have from Palestine, our brother Muhanned. Muhanned is part of Youth Against Settlements and is born and bred in Khalil, which some people call Hebron. Its original name, Khalil, as well as our brother Michail. Michail Zananiri is our amazing videographer that has been doing the virtual delegations for us. I am going to hand it over to Maureen, who will be showing you the video, and we will then have our brother Muhanned and Michelle tell us all about what happened in the video, and we will open it up to questions for you in a little while. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for the introduction, Nancy, and thank you all once again for joining us today. I'm really excited about this particular virtual delegation, not only because Michelle is an artist in terms of his work, but also because Muhanned deserves the spotlight and is a wonderful spokesperson for Khalil. So I'm gonna say less because I think the video does a lot of talking, and then we can save all of our time for questions and answers for our two guests. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the virtual delegation. If you'll give me just a second as I navigate technology with my limited capacity for it. Okay.
While that's being pulled up, I do just want to add also that the Gaza report back, I know many people are waiting for that. We will email it to folks. It won't be on the website until the beginning of June, just an FYI, but it will, it can be emailed to folks. If you signed up for that webinar and you didn't receive it already, feel free to shoot us an email.
Thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Just give me a thumbs up if you hear the sound.
So, welcome to Hebron, and we're going to start explaining about Hebron city starting from here. So Hebron in Arabic is called Al-Khalil, and now in here we're standing at the beginning of Shuhada Street, and this street used to be the main street in Hebron, which connects the north of the city with its south. By the way, my name is Muhanned. I was born and raised here. I'm 31 and I spent all my life here. So the street, which is about a 2 kilometer street, used to connect the north of the city with its south. So it is in the heart of Hebron, in the center of Hebron. And the street was shut and closed after 1994 massacre, after the Ibrahimi Mosque massacre, where 29 Palestinians were killed and more than 170 were injured. So what happened is the occupation in Hebron started in 67, where the first Israeli settlement in Hebron was Kiryat Arba, which has now 7,300 Israeli settlers living there. So we're talking about a settlement which was established by the right-wing settlers, the extremists, the followers, and the followers of Meir Kahane, the Kahanists here, in 1967. And Hebron was the last city occupied in the Nakba time. So Hebron was the last city occupied in Nakba, in Naksa, in 1967, because Naksa in Arabic is the name what we gave to the 1967 or the 6 Days War. 1948 is the Nakba, the catastrophe. So Kiryat Arba was established, or the settlers came and settled in Hebron or stole a Palestinian land and built their settlement in 67, in the second occupation of Palestine. And then they started expanding in Hebron. And in 1983 or in 1979, the settlers moved into Hebron city, to the heart of Hebron, where actually they started in a settlement in the middle of Hebron city. So we're standing now at the beginning of Shahada Street, where there are 3 Israeli settlements, or now there are 4 Israeli settlements in the heart of Hebron, and it's like 2 kilometers, street. Usually, Palestinians are not allowed to drive in that area, and it's called H2. So I'm going to explain what's H1, H2. 1993, the Ibrahimi Mosque massacre happened, where 29 Palestinians were killed inside of the Ibrahimi Mosque, were shot and killed by a settler called Baruch Goldstein, who comes originally from New York, Brooklyn, an American. He was pediatric. He killed 29 people, and Palestinians were praying inside of the Ibrahimi Mosque, and that's where things started getting worse in Hebron city. At that time, the Palestinians and the residents of Hebron witnessed a 3-month curfew. So we were the victims, and we were the ones to be punished for being killed. So it was our fault that our people went to pray during Ramadan, during Ramadan, and were killed by an extreme settler who was armed, had an M16. And by the way, the Ibrahimi Mosque massacre happened on the 15th of Ramadan. That means in 4 days, we're gonna have the memory of the Ibrahimi Mosque massacre on the 15th of Ramadan, because each 15th of Ramadan, each year, every year, on the 25th of February, it's also the memorial or the memory of the Ibrahimi Mosque. So after the massacre, the closure, although we were killed as Palestinians, the punishment that happened against us as Palestinians, although we were the victims, that was absolutely not normal. The market, you're talking about the most important market in the whole country. Hebron is a very important market for Palestine. Why? Because Hebron has 2 special things: best prices and best quality, or cheapest prices and best quality. So we have people coming from all over the country to buy their goods from Hebron. So Hebron's market was the main market in the whole country. And we're talking about the most active part of the city, which was inside of that checkpoint, in that area, on Shuhada Street. So before 1994 and after 1994, the whole area completely changed. Before the massacre, it was full, active, full of people, full of markets, such as inside there was the vegetable market, the fruit market, the second-hand made market, the yogurt market, the camels market, the bus station, the gas station, everything was there. As a Palestinian, if I wanted to take the bus to go to Jerusalem, to go to Ramallah, I had to take it from there. Now I have no access to there. And if you look at this Palestinian, he's carrying stuff. So a lot of Palestinians have to go through this checkpoint to their homes. And we're going to talk about this because not everybody can cross this checkpoint anymore after the 7th of October. But so things changed. Before, everything was there. After 1994, Palestinians were kicked out, a lot of Palestinians, a lot of families, or were forced out, and the markets were closed. We have in that area, so let's explain this before, because we are gonna say a lot of H2. So I want to explain what is H2 before we move to talk about statistics. So 1997, Israel decided to divide Hebron into two parts, H1 and H2, because Hebron is not ABC, the city, not the district. Just as a city, Hebron is two things, either black or white. So Hebron is not ABC. So on the second Oslo agreement, on the second part of Oslo agreement in 1995, Israel decided to give Hebron a special agreement called Hebron Protocol, Hebron Redeployment Agreement, which divided the city into two parts, H1 and H2. So H1 is where you can see it's under Palestinian police control, active, full of Palestinians, full of shops open, people can go shopping, smoking shisha, buying whatever they want, and it forms 80% of Hebron city. Then we move to H2, and that's our topic today. H2 is 20% of Hebron under Israeli military control, where settlers are occupying Palestinian lands and Palestinian homes and living in them illegally against the international law and against the Israeli law. Okay? And we are talking about 4 settlements on the street. The 5th one is called Tel Rumeida, which is on top of the hill in that area. 800 settlers living in this area, between 500 and 800. And why we can never give an accurate number of how many settlers are living here? For one reason. And it's a very important thing to mention, by the way, because usually what settlers do is you would find one settler registered to live in 3 to 4 settlements, okay? And they come to Hebron to live on Saturday, then they go to another settlement, let's say Shav Shimron near Nablus, on Monday, Tuesday, then they move to another settlement. And that's because they want to control more of the houses, okay? So that's what they do. One person can control 4 houses. That means more Palestinian homes, more Palestinian lands are being stolen and taken by those settlers. So we have between 500 and 800 settlers living in Hebron city. Those ones are destroying the life of 36,000 Palestinians living in H2. Because H2 is it's several neighborhoods around each other, under Israeli control, siege, surrounded by checkpoints, and the Palestinian residents in the H2 part, because it's the old city, the Ibrahim Mosque area, and around the Ibrahim Mosque and the old city. So all these areas are forming one area called H2. The Palestinians who are living there are 36,000 Palestinians after the Ibrahim Mosque massacre, because many people used to live there before and they decided to move out. So we have a lot of empty houses. More than 1,090 housing units are abandoned. We have 1,800 Palestinian shops closed. We have 1,300 Palestinian shops are closed because of the occupation eviction on the area, and 513 are wielded, or the opposite. 1,300 are wielded and 513 are closed because of the occupation eviction on the area. Wielded, I mean, we're gonna see it soon. It means if you open your own shop, which you have papers for, you go to jail as a Palestinian. Imagine you're in London, you're in New York, and the authorities tell you if you open your shop, you're gonna go to jail. There is nothing legal, it's illegal. Because in 2007, the Israeli Supreme Court said that Hebron Shuhada Street was closed by mistake. I don't know what kind of mistakes can happen like that for over how many years? 1994, 6 years. We're talking about 27 years. 27 years, mistake for 27 years, never been corrected. So we have around 21 Israeli checkpoints at the entrances and exits of H2. This was before the 7th. Now it's increasing. So we have more checkpoints, more, blockades, more flying checkpoints within the area. And before the 7th, there was only Palestinians who live in that part are allowed into that part. So people were registered. And if you wanted to have a visitor, they had to get a permit from the Israeli civil administration. It's the civil part or the civil office of the Israeli army. They are responsible for our life. They run our life. We live under their mercy, basically. If I want to go to Jerusalem, I need their permit, and they don't give it to us. So you needed to ask for a permit from them to bring a relative to visit you or have a coffee with you in that area. After the 7th, it's worse. It became that people themselves who live inside of that area, where their movement was restricted. For the first 2 weeks, the people themselves who live inside of H2 were not allowed out of their homes. You were not allowed to open your window, you were not allowed to open your front door, not back door. You're not allowed to be on the street, you're not allowed to be on your roof. We basically, or the people who were living there, were basically facing settlers with M16s. Settlers with army uniform. You know? So settlers on the 7th, they took off their civil clothes and they put on their army uniform with machine guns, with the same machine guns they carried before the 7th. But they became on checkpoints, they became in charge officially of the life of 36,000 Palestinians. And you can imagine what a hateful settler would do, or a settler full of hate would do to a Palestinian as an official soldier. Because before they were settlers, they're not official soldiers, they can't arrest you, they can beat you up, but now they can arrest you. So, and until now, inside of this checkpoint, there might be settlers with an army uniform. So, after the 7th, 2 weeks, people were not allowed out of their homes. People were beaten, attacked. I'm going to show you a video. I'm going to look for this video. I'm going to send it to you too, where a Palestinian was almost killed by an Israeli settler for just trying to leave his home to get food to his family after the 7th of October. I'm talking about the first week of the 7th of October.
When was that?
When was that?
Where was that?
In Tel Armeda here. It's almost 400 meters from where we are standing. It's inside of the checkpoint. Tel Armeda. Let me find the video. I'm going to show you this video. The settler wanted, it was a settler who cocked his gun. They have to go through the checkpoint, by the way, for anything they want to do. The children. Here is the video. You can see this is a settler. This guy is a settler. And that's 400 meters from here up to the right. And this is an old Palestinian, and those are settlers. This is a soldier, this is a settler with an army uniform. People went out of their homes because they needed to buy food. They were not allowed out. This is how he tries to shoot him. And he drops the bullet because he tried to shoot and the bullet goes out from the other side. So he didn't succeed. He tries to hit him, pointing the gun. There are children, people have no food to eat. They are trying to go to buy something to eat for their children, and they are just acting like that with people. Again, look at the video, how he tries to shoot. And he has to collect the bullet from the side, because it went out from the other side. He tries to hit him with a gun. The man is telling him, "You're not a soldier." And he says to them, "Who stays here, I'm gonna shoot." The settler. After the 7th of October, after they closed the area for 2 weeks where no people were not allowed to move out or in, they started allowing people to move within certain hours. In the morning, they open it for 30 minutes to leave. So you can't go and come back in the same 30 minutes. You have to leave. And they open it for the people to come back to their homes at 6 p.m. from 6 to 7. So people had 1 hour and a half. It's 2 days to be able to either leave their homes or come back to their homes. So this was, and we have 3 checkpoints around only Tel Armeda. And this is how people had to gather. This is how people had to gather to wait for the checkpoint to open at 6 to go to their homes. So you have to be ready to go back to your home at 6. If you're not ready and if you are 1 minute late, you cannot go back home. that's how they treated people after the 7th of October and before the 7th of October, by the way. But after the 7th, the people living in H2, their life was at risk more than any other time. And they had more difficult time than before. Now, we're talking about H2 area near the Ibrahimi Mosque in that part of Hebron. Every day there are arrests in that area. Every day they're beating up people. Every day they are blocking, you know, even within the restricted part, they are blocking people's entrances and exits from their buildings and their homes, so they cannot go sometimes except from one way, you know. So they are making it more difficult even for the people within H2, and they're restricting the life of people in H2 more and more. And that's because of one reason. They want everybody out. And after the 7th of October, the army came to some people and they told them, you better leave. And the settlers, they told them, you better leave. If you crossed the checkpoint as somebody living in that part of the city and you crossed the checkpoint, your phone was going to be checked. You know what does that mean? To be beaten up. If your phone is checked, if you have a Telegram, if you don't have a Telegram, if you have WhatsApp, if you don't have WhatsApp, you're gonna be beaten up. If you are on one group of the news because you wanna know the news, you're gonna be beaten up. And for people leaving the city to another city, crossing other checkpoints, that was also the same case. We had to have our phones getting checked. But imagine to enter to your house, your phone has to be checked. It's another level of madness. بدك تروح تصور السلاح صوره. وين؟ بس تقربش كتير، خليك على اليمين. كبيره يقول لك روخ. لا ادي يطلق طالع شكله. لا تخوش. عادي احكي معه عادي. انا مش هعمل لك اشي يعني. مش ممنوع ايش ساكن في لندن معاه هوية قدسي زلمه. شو بده يعمل لازم بده يحذف الفيديو كبير. بعدين قال له صحفي. بعدين الجندي مش رح يصير يطلع له برا. اجت الثانية. خلي ياخذوه يكسروها ايات. لا تعال خلينا حيالهم نتعامل معهم. كلمه تجيش اسمع كلمه معصبين. جاب يعتقله
الجيش مستنفر بشارع بير السبع، بقوا عشاب وضلوا شارد الشب. مستنفر الجيش على شارع بير السبع.
الجيش الإسرائيلي أطلق النار على صحفي أجنبي، على صحفي عشان بيصور المحسوم.
يعطيكم العافية يا شباب. إطلاق نار على صحفي أجنبي على حاجز شارع الشهداء. جاري المتابعة.
إطلاق النار كان على شاب وهو صحفي أجنبي. تم طارده شارع بير السبع لكن تمكن من الفرار.
Wow. We could say Hamdulillah ala salami. Thank God that our videographer made it out alive. I'm gonna I'm laughing because you're safe. What's wild is we were in Gaza when we got the news that they'd shot at him. I'm gonna let him tell you more. Michail Zananiri, تفضل. You just have to unmute, bro.
I'm sorry, Michelle, for saying that they won't do anything to you and that they won't come out for you. They actually doing more than what we expected at that time. It was crazy. Sorry, man.
You're muted, Michelle. You're muted.
Sorry, guys. So sorry that you might have experienced a shocking end of the video, but it was a shocking end of filming to us. And Muhanned Habibi, you don't need to apologize. As if I was in your position, I would feel the exact same thing. It's another level the way they are treating Palestinians after the 7th of October. And I filmed in Hebron so many times before. I filmed in that corner so many times before. I had interaction and I had arguments with the army before, but they were never more trigger happy. So
it's really, I deal with them. I used to deal with them for the 7th of October every day. And basically, I used to just fight the soldiers, not physically, but like stand in front of the soldiers and fight with them and, challenge them. That was before the 7th of October. And yeah, the maximum thing would happen to me is to get beaten up. But like to get shot at was something else. And that is the life now after the 7th of October. So
yeah. So basically, guys, just to let everyone know and explain, this delegation, this is done. This should be done with Muhanned. He's the guy from Hebron. He's the one who knows a lot about Hebron. But because this story happened with us, I will be talking in this one as well. But the main focus is to ask if you have any questions about Hebron and about the situation on the ground. It's Muhanned who will be helping you with that. But I just wanna, I'm Palestinian. I'm from Jerusalem, born and raised my whole life in Jerusalem. I've been living in London for the last 5 years. So I visit Palestine whenever I have to do some work or visit the family. So that was one of my visits to go film. And I filmed the previous delegation in Lud, and I filmed this one in Hebron, and this is what happened. This was supposed to be a much bigger film. We were supposed to film in so many areas in Hebron and to show you what Muhanned was talking about. It was not supposed to be a frame on Muhanned's face and just him talking. We were supposed to hear what he's saying and see. But because that was the first thing that we did in the morning, and literally just after we finished filming him talking, before we were able to shoot in Hebron, I got shot at by the Israeli soldiers. So briefly, without going so much into detail, just after I finished filming filming what you just saw, I wanted to get closer to the checkpoints so I can film the gun that was hanging on top of the gate that you saw at the very end of the film. This gun has a very interesting story. So basically, this gun is I'm not sure when did they put this up, Muhanned? The facial recognition.
A few years ago, maybe 6, something like that, 5 years ago, or something like. I think 2008. Yeah.
So it's a new technology.
Something like that.
It's a new technology. So the Israelis, instead of sorry,
it's an Israeli production.
Yes, so Israel produced this gun, and now they're hanging those guns in front of the checkpoints, especially in Hebron. What this gun does, it's an automatic gun that is connected to a facial recognition system. So if they find any person, if that camera on top of the gun finds a person that is wanted or like registered on their system as a wanted face, that gun can shoot automatically without the permission of the soldier. Also, that gun could be controlled by the soldiers inside. They don't need to go outside the checkpoint, and they can shoot by using literally a joystick, and they can decide either shoot a rubber bullet or shoot a live bullet. So I was interested in going closer and taking a few shots of this gun. And actually, Muhanned did warn me. He said, you can go film the gun, but do not get too close. I was a bit stubborn, and I got too close. And by the way, I was not shot at by that gun. I was shot at by the soldiers themselves. So when I got closer to the checkpoint, one soldier comes out.
Michel, 3 of them.
Yeah.
3 shot at you. The 2 soldiers.
Yeah, 7 bullets were shot at me. So I was running, so I don't know which one and how many the ones who shot at me. So basically, I got closer to the checkpoint. The first thing I see is, just while I was shooting that gun, I was filming that gun. a soldier comes out and he is pointing the gun at me, and Muhanned from the other side kind of screaming, saying, "Do not worry, talk to them, do not worry." I'm quite used to the situation in Palestine. I wasn't really worried, and I was willing to talk to them. And I explained that I'm an independent journalist, filming for myself. I'm not filming for anyone. This is exactly what I said, because whatever you tell them, they have more questions. They usually have more questions, and they need to know exactly what you're doing. So I was like, I'm filming for myself. And then the minute he heard that I live in London and I have a British ID, he kind of cooled down. But then another soldier goes out and he started asking the same questions, and he asked me to put all my equipment on the ground and go a few meters behind. So I put my microphone, put my phone, my card, my ID card on the ground, went a few steps to the back, and he got closer to my stuff, looked at them, looked at my British ID, British driving license actually, and I think he was the one who turned off the mic. The mic was recording. This is why I don't have more recording for the audio, but the microphone was recording Muhanned, so the soldier pressed on it and turned it off, and he was screaming, and he was not acting polite at all, threatening to arrest me. And then I controlled myself, and then he put my stuff back on the ground, and he said salamat. Salamat in Arabic means peace, so you can go. It means that you can go. So I take my stuff from the ground, I start walking back towards Muhanned where I was filming him, and suddenly another soldier comes out, a third one, and I think a few others. But that soldier, there's a distance between me and the soldiers. I was walking back, and that soldier started screaming, asking me to put my phone on the ground and go back. And I started screaming back, saying that I will not put my phone on the ground. I was already checked. And to tell you all, basically, as Muhanned was saying before the incident happened, they check your phone. If they find anything they don't like, they might arrest me, and they might even beat me, and they might even, you never know what happens. A lot of people are going to prison just because of one post. Some of them are staying for 1 year in prison because of one post. So to let you all know, I am the media officer for the Palestinian ambassador in London, Hussam Zumlot. So basically I work for the Palestinian embassy in London. And there are so many sensitive photos on my phone, so many sensitive WhatsApp groups, it's for my work. And I did not want the soldiers to have that, because they have a reason to either arrest or beat me, or I don't know to what extent it could go. So I decided to not face them and to go further back and run away if I could. And the minute I started running away, I in my head, I thought they will never, ever shoot. They might scream, but I have done nothing wrong. So they might not, they will never, ever shoot. And we faced similar stuff before in Palestine, before the 7th of October. We faced similar stuff. And they always have been trigger happy, but not like this. So I ran, and I hear bullets, and 2 of the bullets, not just I hear them, I see them hit the wall next to me at my head and chest level. So they were shooting to kill. And that was the end of our filming. That's why we couldn't continue the film. And that is a very, very small example of what's happening in Palestine. I'm just a witness to, like you guys might see it as a really big incident, but what's happening in Palestine, this is minor. This happens on daily basis, especially in Hebron. At least 5 times a week, they kill people in Hebron, sometimes even more. Muhanned can talk more about this, but this is basically what happened with me. If anybody has any question about the incident, I'm happy to answer. But please, let's not just focus on this one, and focus on Hebron as a city, because this is the whole point, and this is what we want to talk about. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Michelle. One thing I do want to focus on is, Muhanned, I know that the focus has been much on Gaza, although they've totally uprooted Jenin, they've uprooted Tul Karim. But one question, or one thing that I know is happening is, Hebron was a place, or Khalil is a place of a lot of tourism usually. And so I know personally, like women of Hebron, all these collectives that I've worked with for years, they haven't opened their stores since October 7th. And so can you just talk a little bit about the economic situation that has hit Al Khalil since October 7th, and how much people are suffering in Al Khalil? If people can't work, how do they feed their kids?
That's exactly the point. Economically, generally, the economical situation is really bad after the 7th of October, because like Hebron as a city of business depends a lot on visitors, not necessarily foreigners from outside the country, from abroad, but Palestinians who come from 48, from Haifa, Jaffa, and from other Palestinian cities in the West Bank to do their shopping, or to do business in the city. And after the 7th of October, they shut down. The Israelis put over 750, even close to 800 Israeli new checkpoints or barriers between the cities in the West. That means for me, as Muhanned, I work in Ramallah, for example, as a sports commentator. It used to take me, if there is no traffic, 1 hour and a half to be in Ramallah, from Hebron to Ramallah. Now it could take you 5-6 hours to go to the north, especially Tulkarem, Nablus, Jenin. It could take you the whole day. So a lot of people stopped moving and leaving the cities because it's really risky. You could die if you leave the city. Today, like just earlier today, a Palestinian woman at almost 11 in the morning, she was killed in Hebron, just at the exit of Hebron, by an Israeli soldier. 2 days ago, 2 Palestinians were killed in the same area. One of them was just trying to cross the barrier by walk. The soldier approached him. There's a video, and he should have killed him. And the soldier did not know he was being filmed. So people were scared to move between cities. People were scared to leave their cities. And it was not only that they are scared, it takes them a long time, and you have to cross Israeli checkpoints. So leaving and entering cities was not guaranteed. You could go, leave your city, and reach Hebron, and you cannot enter. Many times myself, I was out, I was trying to come back to Hebron, and the entrance was closed, so we had to take off-roads, which was dangerous, first of all, and it was also crazy, and not prepared for a car, not paved. So we had to take off-roads, we had to go between olive trees. To go to Tulkarem, we had to cross from Nablus to Tulkarem, and we had to cross olive trees yards to go to Tulkarem. So that affected the business in Hebron in one way, and the 7th of October itself affected the economy, because the Palestinian Authority money and our taxes is held and kept by Israel, and Israel gives it back to us after they take their share, and they give us a share. It was kept. They didn't give it to the PA, to the Palestinian Authority. And from the other hand, so the Palestinian employees could not get paid. And what makes the Palestinian market active is 2 things. The Palestinians who work in Israel, either in construction, restaurants, whatever, and those people after the 7th of October, all of them were kicked out of Israel, especially the people from, and also the people from Gaza who were working in Israel. They were all kicked to the West Bank. From the West Bank, they were arrested, beaten up, tortured, sent back to Gaza. Until now, there are some of them in jail, about 4,000 workers. And you're talking about the income that comes from Palestinian employees' salaries to the Palestinian market. Why do Palestinians work in Israel? It's because Israel destroyed our economy to make us dependent on them so they can control us. So we reached the point as Palestinians, Palestinian workers had to go work in Tel Aviv because Israel destroyed our businesses, Israel destroyed our economy to force us to be dependent on them. That we have to always need them to do anything. So in case there is a war, or I don't like to call it a war, I'm sorry, I like to call it a genocide. And they don't allow Palestinian workers to go there. We starve. We starve. And the Palestinian employees, it's the same story. They control our money, and they give it back to the PA with conditions. It's our money. So the Palestinian economy, or the economic situation in Palestine after the 7th became very, very bad. And especially in H2 area, especially in the old city, where some of the businesses were opened. Before the 7th, they were struggling because nobody comes to that area. Since the Israeli occupation took control over that area, people are scared to go to that area because it's full of army, full of checkpoints. If you want to go to the Ibrahim Mosque to pray, to visit, you have to be checked. It's, you know, it's scary, it's risky. People get checked, detained, beaten up, you know. So Palestinians don't go to that part of the city. So foreigners come, and not a lot of foreigners who come to buy some stuff and do some tours. After the 7th of October, nobody goes to that area. So most of shops closed, don't open anymore, because they cannot make anything, any business. They cannot feed their families. So I saw some of them carrying bracelets and selling it to Palestinians in H1. And they don't make business because this kind of stuff are for foreigners, for tourists. And there are 3 to 4 shops, 4 shops, next to the Ibrahim Mosque, within the Ibrahim Mosque area. Since the 7th of October, they cannot open at all. They're not allowed to open. Munir shop, Fakhouri, the ceramic place, the Muhtasib family shop, the Ja'bari shop, these 4 shops. And there was a 5th one also. There are 5, or the 4, they cannot open at all. So the business in that area was killed. And that's what exactly Israel want, because they want to put a full control over the old city with no Palestinian markets there, with no Palestinian people living there. So treating Palestinians, even until now, in a terrible way, detaining, beating up people who are living in H2. Even if you cross the checkpoint, you get beaten up, you get detained on checkpoint. Many things happen to you. They chase you, they invade your house at night. Settlers come drunk, not drunk. They basically endanger your life in your house. And that's what they exactly want. They wanted to destroy the business, to destroy the business, to make people leave and not to let anybody keep living in that area. So now it's a dead area. When I went there before Michelle comes to Hebron, I was there once or twice. I went there. It was dead. Even during Ramadan, when the city is basically, in that part of the city is crowded, because everybody goes to that part of the city. They go to the mosque to pray. They didn't go. It was kind of dead, you know. So these businesses are destroyed, and they cannot open anymore. They don't open anymore. I don't think in the future they will be able to open. And that will make it easier for the Israeli settlers to take control over that part of the city, the H2, the old city part. Today, there is a Jewish holiday, and the settlers basically broke into the old city and did tours and enjoyed their time and danced in Hebron city, in H2. And settlers, they're in the government now. So my neighbors from the United States, it's a little Chicago in our area, it's a little Brooklyn, because they're mainly from Brooklyn, from Boston, from the States. Those people who have criminal files open back in the United States, announced as terrorists, like Baruch Marzel and the rest of them, they became the government today in Israel. And you can imagine how shitty it can be when settlers who are criminals, who don't even believe in two-state solution, who just believe in one-state solution, which is Israel, a Jewish state with no Muslims, no Christians, no Palestinians living in this country. So those people, after the 7th of October especially, because they're in power, for example, Bezalel Smotrich, the economical minister of Israel, is from a settlement called Kdumim, which is in the north, near Qalqilia. He gave $170 million to the settlers in Hebron and the settlers in the West Bank to develop settlements and fundings, while Israelis themselves, who serve in the Israeli army, in the reserve army, their businesses got destroyed somehow, and they did not have any money coming to them from it was little money, so even within Israel, it's crazy, because Israelis are angry at him, but for us it's worse because he's empowering these settlements with more money. So we see that Palestinian businesses are being destroyed in Hebron because of the Israeli apartheid, because of what Israel is doing today in Gaza and in the West Bank. And on the other hand, a crazy empowering of Israeli settlers by a government that they themselves lead in Israel. Ben Gvir, the interior minister, is living only 2 to 3 kilometers away from my house. And this guy was just handing M16s to settlers, like somebody is handing candies to children in Christmas. He's just giving them M16. He's just telling the name. He doesn't need to do a background check. See if this person has a criminal file open, whatever, to follow some rules. No. He was distributing M16s like somebody, like Santa Claus distributes gifts to children in Christmas, and that was crazy because it became happening with no rules. Because before the 7th, settlers could have guns, but there were some rules. You get a background check. Not everybody can carry a machine gun. You have to get some trainings. No, today it's open, just giving guns like that. So money and guns given to settlers, and we as Palestinians are losing because our economy is destroyed, our homes are being stolen, our streets are being taken, and all of this is happening. I think this is the worst time in the West Bank since 1967. Even the second intifada was not like this. The first intifada was not like this. This is our worst time since 1967, the Naksa time, when they occupied the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem. And as Palestinians in the West Bank, we can't even complain because we see what's happening in Gaza is even much worse than this. But it is a war. It's a genocide that is being that is happening against all of us as Palestinians, whether we live in Rafah, Khan Yunis, Hebron, Ramallah, or Jericho, or Nablus and Jenin. It doesn't matter. You're a Palestinian. The mission they have is to kick you out of your home, to kick you out of the land, and to push you away. Because what's happening today is another 1948 Nakba. It's not less worse than what happened in 1948. But the difference is we as Palestinians realize that another Nakba should not happen. We should not let them do it. Yes, they are partially succeeding because they kicked a lot of people out. They killed many people. But we realized that we're not going to just take our suitcases and say goodbye.
Thank you, bro. I want to just say, a couple of things about Khalil, because I've been there many times with you. Rest in peace, Hashim Azzi, who used to show us around. He lived within H2, and he was an elder who refused to leave his home, although the front of his home, the main entrance, was completely covered with barbed wire. They used to have to jump over the back wall to leave the house. And when I remember him telling us a story, which is documented, when his father passed away, they had to carry his body because essentially ambulances can't get into that part for Palestinians, only Israeli vehicles and Israeli ambulances, and therefore Palestinians have to carry the bodies of the seriously ill or the deceased, carry them by hand, depending on, and it's very hilly. If you know Hebron or have seen any pictures, they have to carry them, take them through a checkpoint. And so essentially Hashim's father, when he passed away, they took him to the checkpoint and they started checking his dad's body for a couple of hours. And then they realized the thing that was beeping was the watch on his dad's hand. So they took the back of the gun and just started smashing the watch on his father's wrist, on his dead father's wrist. Hashim also passed away after they gassed his house a few years ago. And also just being in Hebron, Khalil, for me, I remember we were at Abid's house. I don't know if you were there that time. We had a delegation.
When the army came?
When the army chased the little boy. Do you remember? He was mentally challenged. And he was just scared because there's like 8 soldiers chasing a mentally challenged kid who was maybe 15, 16, and they chased him through the streets with their guns, and he ran into the passage that leads to my friend's house, and the kid was like, can't breathe, crying, just hysterical. And I remember we confronted the soldiers, and there was the one, he just had his hand on the gun, like he wanted to shoot me. And if there weren't that many Americans with me, he probably would have. But I literally told him, like, your kids with guns, like, why are you chasing? Because they wanted his ID card. That was their reasoning of why they chased him with their guns up, aimed at him, through the streets of Al Khalil. So these are just little things that we've witnessed. There's so many that we've witnessed in Al Khalil. But I want to just move to, because we are running out of time, I want to move to see if anybody has any questions. Please put them in the chat. Is there anything else that
To whom are these questions being forwarded? Because it's either to Michelle or me, so we know who can answer.
Yeah, let us know if it's to our wonderful videographer, cameraman, Michelle, or to Muhanned. Let us know. And the other question that I have, which I'm sure is probably a major one all the time. It's it's asked all the time on all these webinars, but what can people do essentially to help? Obviously sharing, people think, oh, if I share, I only only a couple of people read my stuff or blah, 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 but talking about it is that each one teach one. So, I mean, sharing obviously is very important. But what else can people do from the Palestinian perspective on the ground that could help, essentially? That was to you, Muhannad.
كمان مرة.
ايش بقدر يساوي عشان يساعدوا الشعب؟
I thought you're saying what they can do. A lot of things people can do. Like, I think everybody from the States, right?
For the most
Kind
part,
of.
with a couple of
People
people
from the United States. So, how are you? I hope you're doing well. I just would like to tell you that you basically every month pay $8.50 to Israel from your tax money. So this is important to know. Each American pays $8.50 from their own taxes to Israel through your lovely Biden government and administration. And it's not only from Biden, it's from before. And the American money is even this year has been crazier that is going to Israel. It's not only about money, it's also about weapons, it's about everything. And it's very important that the Americans move, and do something, especially in these protests in New York, all over the United States. We've seen it's amazing, but we need more. We need a great pressure on your government, on your representatives, on the Congress to stop funding Israel. Because recently, I mean, a few days ago, Israel or the United States approved a new funding to Israel. And that was a bit stuck in in Congress voting. So we want this to stop. We want no more money, no more guns to go from the United States to Israel. And not only from the United States, mainly from a lot of other countries in the world. So it doesn't matter where you're from, but mainly if you're from the United States, that's where the problem is mainly coming from. Because we always say that without blind support, the unconditional support that comes to Israel from the West, Israel would never be able to maintain its occupation. And Israel is maintaining its occupation because of your tax money, is because of the blind support from your governments to Israel. And this is something very important. And telling people about what you know about Palestine, because after the 7th of October, especially like in the past 4, 5 months, 6 months, I think, I don't, if somebody comes to me and tells me I don't know what's happening in Palestine, I don't believe them anymore. I'm sorry, it's everywhere. If you open your TikTok, if you open your Facebook, Twitter account, whatever, news, whatever, you're going to see what's happening in Palestine. And everybody now has access to information because basically we are living in 2024 and there is internet. So we want people to tell what they see and what they know about Palestine to the rest of their friends, family members, and especially to put pressure on your government, to put pressure on your representatives, put pressure on Congress to stop funding Israel, to defund Israel, to stop sending weapons to Israel, because these weapons kill Palestinians in Gaza, they kill Palestinian children. When you see these videos on TV of a mother carrying her child, dead child, who was killed while they were hungry, it's because the blind support from your government. So you basically take a responsibility for what's happening in Gaza, and we want you to act. We want people to be active and move, telling people about what's happening in Palestine, informing people, educating other people, joining protests, joining talks about Palestine. Everything, whatever you do, guys, is going to be helpful, because it will help Palestinians. Because when Israel felt at the beginning that they are free to do whatever they want, they got a green pass from the West to kill Palestinians, they did it in a crazy way. So we want everybody to react and be active. We would like that some, the people to do that, because it will help in saving more lives of Palestinians.
Thank you, Muhanned. I want to, talking about government suppressing voices, I want to just say that there was an alert that just came out that now Columbia students, who, all respect to them, and all the campuses around the US that are refusing to be complicit in this genocide, have actually, Columbia has just been threatened with having the military come in. So please, all eyes on Columbia University. There is a question here. Muhanned, we did a tour with you this past September in Al Khalil. We're so grateful for all the information. Back in the second Intifada, there was the ISM, the International Solidarity Movement, of foreigners who came to try and, quote unquote, protect vulnerable Palestinians. Is this realistic to have that movement again, for Americans to come and have a presence in the West Bank as a way to protect the indigenous? I know that ISM recently had a call out for people to come and support and protect the Palestinians because of what's happening in the West Bank, and kind of all eyes are on Gaza. We know of NGOs that come to protect, and I don't know, this is not the case with the ISM because I believe their politics are better, but there are many NGOs that I met in Al Khalil, in Hebron, that the ISM is an international solidarity movement. It's foreigners that come and support Palestinians on the ground. When farmers are farming, they try and protect them. But I know that NGOs in general, not ISM, but NGOs, they can come and stand and protect the school kids, because I know they do that in Hebron, try and get the kids to school without being attacked by settlers. But I remember asking this on video with Hashim Afikra, and I said to them, okay, so you're here getting paid, these are the NGOs, to protect Palestinians. Now, if somebody walks up to Muhanned and shoots him, right, what do they do with that report that they write? And they said the report goes to the Israelis and the Palestinians. Okay, can the NGO go to court and say, I witnessed that soldier or that settler murder Muhanned? They're not allowed to, right? No. So it's like, what is the, so I know there's that question. I just wanted to clarify that, because a lot of people think they witness and they come and they can report. They can write a report, but they're not allowed to go to court and testify against the Israeli that did that. So
yeah, because we are Palestinians, Nancy, we are under the military law. It depends on the organization you join, but believe me, the moment they know your name, they know who you are, you're going to be deported. I mean, it doesn't matter. They don't need to take you to the airport and send you back to the United States. They will wait till you to leave. They will investigate you, and then when you try to come back, you'll not be able to enter the country. Whether you try to help Palestinians by going to court and testify in the favor of Palestinians, or they just know what you're doing as an activist. So it's not really a field for free activism in the country, because Israel doesn't make it look like that. And they deported a lot of people. They deported a lot of my friends who can't come back to Palestine anymore because they stand on the Palestinian side. They haven't done anything illegal. They only try to help Palestinians. But there are organizations that you can come with, and presence of foreigners is important, especially in the South Hebron Hills, in the northern part of the country, in some places, because then you can document the human rights violations, But will your presence protect us as Palestinians? I'm not sure that your presence even will protect you yourself, because Israel now can kill Americans, and Biden's administration or Trump administration won't say shit about it. Shireen Abu Akleh was killed, nothing happened. Rachel Corrie was killed, nothing happened. Other Americans were attacked, beaten up, nothing happened, So don't think your American passport will protect you in Israel, because you are not a priority for your government if you get killed in Palestine or in Israel by Israelis, So you can come, yeah. And I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm just trying to say the reality to you, that the truth. Your presence will help in spreading what's happening in Palestine around, because you witness a lot of things happening, and you will manage to film. you will manage to capture these moments, and you'll be able to either share them with your friends and people there. So that's how your presence will help us as Palestinians. But when Palestinians alone face the settlers have the advantage to do whatever they want. When there are presence of foreigners and cameras, the settlers, try sometimes not to do things on camera. They're always told, do it, but don't be filmed. We heard it many times in Hebrew, even either commanders telling soldiers to do something, but off camera, or settlers, leaders telling the settlers, don't do it, there's a camera.
So essentially, would you say that delegations like the ones at Eyewitness Palestine, EIR that we've been doing, are these delegations good for people to come on, or things like NGOs where they come just to protect? Like what do you think is more helpful?
It's very, very important to tell. I would advise every person around the world, when they want to come to Palestine for the first time, come, learn, and then understand. And that's what Nancy does, basically, when she brings people to Palestine. She educates people, because you don't only come to Hebron. You go Nablus, Hebron, so you go all over. And then people, when they come on such a trip, they learn about not only Hebron, but other places, because every place has a story. And very important to understand first, when you want to come to Palestine, to come and try to understand and learn about how things are going, how life is there, what's happening, what etc. And to know also how to protect yourself as a foreigner. So I would say to come on a trip and understand how things are here is more helpful now, and then you can take the decision if you would like to come and do protective presence or whatever you want to do. But first of all, you need to come and to understand how things work in this country, because sometimes you could make a mistake, and one mistake could be enough to never be able to come back to Palestine. And I'm sure Nancy knows how to present this kind of facts to people who come on her trips, because she basically educates people how to do all these things, and that's very important, because if you can't protect yourself, you can protect no one else. And if you come to a place to do protective presence and you don't know about the place much, it's not really helpful for yourself first before being helpful for the people. But I would say it's both are very important. But first, you really need to come on a trip and understand how things are going on in this country, and absolutely, when you come, you will realize a lot of other things that you can never realize if you've never been to Palestine.
Thank you, Muhanned. Thank you, Carla. We have the No Weapons to Israel Please sign out, the US campaign for Palestinian rights. Shout out to Ahmed Abu Zaid. Please sign on. No more weapons to Israel. We definitely urge, always encourage and urge people to, if they can, come to Palestine with us. We are very big on the political education behind the situation on the ground, because it is not like any other place that you go to. A lot of people just think it's just another war zone, or this is a 75-year.
Sorry for interrupting you, Nancy. I remember you were somehow in Bethlehem when Conan was there.
Conan O'Brien, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, but I saw a video, and Conan did not know anything about refugee camps, and you basically, within 10 minutes, you guys educated him about Aida, the Azza, the Haitian refugee camp in Bethlehem. The 5 minutes or the 10 minutes of talk with Conan was worth of all his trip, because he did not know about it in Bethlehem.
Yeah.
It's like 10 minutes, random, he got the education about what is refugee camp in Bethlehem.
Yeah, Conan O'Brien, we should do a Zoom just about that, because there's a lot of backstory to that. He showed about 2.5 minutes. Our delegation that was happening in 2018 just happened to bump into Conan O'Brien, and we ended up on his show. Now, he showed about 2.5 minutes of us, right? And he actually picked some of the good parts, but I think that's because we filmed everything and started releasing some of it. And then on the other hand, he put the full 24 minutes on his website. So if you go to teamcoco.com, I think it is, or you put Conan O'Brien West Bank, you'll see that interaction with him. But what the difference is, if you go to YouTube and put Conan O'Brien West Bank sneak peek, he did an ad the week prior to it being released, and you see him saying this wall represents apartheid, occupation, and oppression. And when it got released the week later, they did a pre-screening the night before, and all of that got cut. And they made him cut the part that he was in the home of a young boy that had been murdered by the occupation, speaking to the father, like in the house of somebody in a refugee camp. And they made him cut that as well. And so there's a lot of backstory to it. There was interviews that were done by Palestinian media that are all available. So maybe we will do a thing about that, because he knew but didn't know, but you can tell that he was seriously affected. But he also said it himself, that I only have so much power as a comedian on a show. I don't own the channel, and I'm not, and one of our sisters that was with us, Dariella, an educator from the Bronx, said you have a responsibility to your millions of viewers to tell the truth. And she said in that video, which has been
Alex was there.
huh?
Alex كانت هناك. Alex was there.
Yeah, she was. But Dari said to him, if we don't do something now, by the time you wake up and realize, it's going to be too late. It's going to be so bad that it's going to be too late. And people have been recirculating that video recently, showing how she said this in 2018 to him. Anyway, long story, but look, we appreciate you. We appreciate your steadfastness, your resilience. We appreciate the fact that with all the arrests and beatings and, oppression that you guys have faced, just having Youth Against Settlements and showing people around the Khalil for years, that you're still going. All the respect for you. And, anybody that wants to reach out, please, we will send out Muhanned's Instagram and contact info in our follow-up email when we post this video. Please, look up Youth Against Settlements. Feel free to make a donation to them if you want to support their work. And also, please keep supporting Eyewitness Palestine. We couldn't do these virtual delegations and all the work and all the educational programming that we do without you guys. We do have a Zoom next week coming up that is actually the doctors, some directors and doctors from the hospitals that Maureen and I were just working with in Gaza. And so they're going to be speaking to us live from Gaza, telling us about the healthcare system, or the lack of resources in the healthcare system, the collapse of the healthcare system, and what they need us to do to support them on the ground in Gaza. So if you're not signed up to our newsletters or our mailing list, please go to our website, www.eyewitnesspalestine.org. We also have a donate button. If you feel like donating, please do. We appreciate everybody. Muhanned, we appreciate you, brother. Habib Allah yahmeek. And I hope we will see you soon on a delegation.
Inshallah. And somebody was asking, okay, to answer, do I have a minute?
Yeah, go for it.
Yes, somebody was asking, okay, so basically in the past 6-7 months, it's kind of complicated to be active, whether in the popular resistance and nonviolent resistance against the occupation. It's really difficult. So we've been low with Youth Against Settlements a little bit, because we couldn't even reach the center, the house in Tel Ormeda, as activists. Only Isa was allowed to be able to reach it, because he was it's his personal address, his personal house, but we couldn't. So I couldn't go there since really like the 7th of October. 5th of October was the last day I was there. And he's alive. Somebody asked if he's alive. Yeah, he's alive. He lost his brother recently. He passed away. He was sick. He was sick and he passed away. So it's been difficult for him. And this time is hard for all Palestinians these days. If you say one word against the occupation, you most probably go to jail. So it's not something easy. Even what I'm saying now, today's presentation, today's talk could put me at risk, and it's something happening a lot after the 7th. So whatever you say against the occupation, even if you say it in a peaceful way, if you talk, if you say whatever, it could cost you your freedom. So me, Michail, even talking is not safe for us. And tonight's talk is something that could endanger our freedom. But for us, we're not saying something wrong. We're just talking about our rights as Palestinians. And I think that there is nothing wrong with that. And I mean, as a Palestinian, you're always at risk of being arrested or something happens to you. So we feel it's important to raise our voices and talk. Nancy, shukran. Thank you so much. Maureen,
Thank you.
Michelle, thank you guys. Thanks for everybody who attended today.
Thank you, everyone.
We're getting that you guys care and want to hear from us. Michelle, I miss you already. So inshallah, see you next
Thank you. Inshallah, see you again.
Palestine, London.
I'm coming next week.
Okay, inshallah, we talk.
He'll be doing we'll be doing Haifa next, I believe. Haifa and Ramallah. Haifa, my city. So I'm excited. Yes, thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate you. The doctor's Zoom is not on our website yet. It should be by tomorrow. But if you're on the mailing list, you will receive a notification for that. Also, if you are on Instagram, please follow us, Eyewitness Palestine. We will send out Michelle and Muhanned's Instagrams too, if you want to get in contact with them. We appreciate everybody. Again, thank you so much for supporting the work we do. And as you know, all of our Zooms go on our website under past events. So please follow that. You can watch Zooms that you've missed. We've done many on political prisoners. We've done many virtual delegations and a lot more issues, women's issues, children's issues. And so please do watch them. We always try and bring you somebody from the ground and try and support their efforts there. I also want to put on folks' radar, if you are near Chicago, in Chicago, if you're not in Chicago but want to come to Chicago, we have our first Eyewitness Palestine Gala happening on June 2nd. We have some amazing speakers, including Ahmed Abu Znaid from the US campaign. We have Alana Hadid. We have Mariam Barghouti, a journalist from Ramallah that will be coming out to report on what's been happening in the West Bank for the past 7 months. We also have Jinan Matari and Shadia Mansour, live music by Shadia, and Nibal Melshi, a classical Palestinian singer with her band. So we asked folks to go on the website. That event is up there. You should book your tickets. They are selling out. We have tables available. You can email us about that. And so we hope to see you in Chicago. And if not, still support our efforts in Chicago and our efforts just all around with our programming. Thank you so much. We love you all. Salamat bishwalat.
Everyone, thank you, Muhanned.